Welcome back, everyone. Well, yes, we're boldly going where no TV station has gone before, and for the next 10 minutes or so, you're going to hear a lot of Star Trek cliches. But we're here in Ticonderoga at a very unique space and studio. And joining me today is the person behind this, James Cawley. Welcome, James.
Hey, thank you so much for coming.
Oh my God, it's an honor to be here. We don't usually go on location,
well, no,
right?
and especially not in outer space, right?
Yes, yes, that's true. Little backstory on this one. It goes back a decade. 10 years ago, I was up here in the area, and someone said to me, "You're not going to believe this guy has built an exact replica of the bridge of the Starship Enterprise in Port Henry." And I thought, that's not possible. So we did. We hopped in a car. We went up to Port Henry, in this place that was so nondescript on the outside you couldn't pick it out of a crowd of one. And we go in there, and there was an exact replica of the original bridge from the original Star Trek series. And it blew our mind. Fast forward, 10 years later, you're here in Ticonderoga, and only to outdo yourself, not only the technology has allowed you to do a lot of things, but also, as we're going to see, there are exact replicas from the original drawings of the bridge, of sick bay, of...
This is the entire soundstage. This is what they shot the 1960s television show on. And, you know, it's licensed by CBS, who owns Star Trek, and it's open to the public.
Now, a couple of things here. I'm in television business, been in it my whole life. Yep. To get CBS and Paramount to give you the licensing rights is no small feat.
No.
Why do you think that happened?
Well, you know, we made fan films for, 10, 12 years, steady. And we always played by their rules that they laid down, and I kept in constant contact with them. And I think they recognize the passion of the fan base. They certainly are a very, very different corporation, say, than maybe Walt Disney would be with some of their properties. They realize that Star Trek's fans are responsible for the success of Star Trek. They kept it alive when the show should have been long gone. And they really appreciated the passion of the fans. And I showed them what we had created, and they agreed that it would be a good idea to share it with the rest of Star Trek fandom and curious people. So they said, let's do this. Let's open it up.
Now, when you were taping those fan-based programs, you actually had stars from the original series.
Absolutely.
And they included some names you're going to know.
Yeah. Who? I had Walter Koenig, who played Mr. Chekhov. I had George Takei, who plays Mr. Sulu. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura. I had 3 of the original, players from the series here shooting on these sets.
And also, when someone had the misfortune or the luck to be an alien, the costumes were dead on to what the original costumes were too, right?
Absolutely. Well, I worked with Bill Tice, who was the original costume designer. He's a friend of mine. And when he passed away, he left me some items, and one of those, not only were the patterns for the costumes, but his source books, and he also had a set of complete blueprints for all of this.
And you also worked on the set of Star Trek yourself, didn't you?
I did. I worked on Next Generation. I did some freelance costume work that first year. And then in 2009, I was invited to be a part of the cast for the reboot film, the first Chris Pine feature. I'm on the bridge. I'm like, where's Waldo? You have to kind of look around to find me. As
if you don't know already, but I am absolutely a Trek. But it was our generation, James.
Absolutely.
You're talking about the 60s, okay? Whoop, 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 whoop. Let's go back.
Time warp.
Yes, exactly right. You're talking about the 60s, and here is a series, science fiction, countries in complete turmoil. Here's a series that has an Asian, that has a Russian, that has an African American, and now African Americans were in television, but here was a woman who was in control, Uhura, and you had this amazing guy with pointed ears.
And Nichelle Nichols was going to leave the cast. She was not happy that she wasn't being utilized fully.
Yes,
she went to an NAACP meeting, and while she was there in Los Angeles, somebody said, "Oh, hold on, there's somebody that wants to meet you." And she turned around, and it was Martin Luther King.
Oh, wow.
And she said, he said, "Well, I love you on Star Trek." And she said, "Well, I'm actually going to be leaving the show." And he said, "Whoa, you can't do that."
Oh, man.
He said, "You don't understand the impact that you're having on our youth and on everyone in this country, that they see this intelligent, African American woman in a position of command. You absolutely must stay with the show." And she did.
And actually, you and I are sitting where Sulu,
and
Asian, and Chekhov, the Russian, who were piloting the Enterprise,
right? A Russian in the middle of the Cold War, right?
Yes, that's right. And storylines that went way beyond the science fiction movies of the 50s. Here's where plots that had a morality play
right.
that had humor, that had conflict
Aliens
and
weren't
vision.
Just, aliens
right?
weren't just mean aliens; they were mothers protecting their children.
That's right.
All these different things were happening in Star Trek. He was commenting on the Vietnam War, which no other television program was doing, except that when Gene was doing it, he would change them from communists and Americans to purple people fighting green people. He got his message through that way.
I still got it out for the Romulans. I'm telling you right now, I just never liked the Romulans. So, all right, we're right in downtown Ticonderoga,
right.
which on the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th is going to be called Trek Conderoga.
That's right. Make the trek. That's
yes.
what we tell everybody.
Well, and this you have to do, and we're going to walk around, and you're going to see a lot of the set designs here. The 12th, the 13th, and the 14th, not really a Star Trek convention. It's really a pop culture event.
That's
call
right,
it, right?
And it happens, here and at different locations in the community. But there's some celebrities coming, people who actually worked on Star Trek. The two stars of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick's big film. Mm-hmm. They sign autographs, they do meet and greets, they talk about their experiences. Fans can ask them questions. Mm-hmm. There's vendors, there's photo ops. There's all these kinds of things that you would find at a convention. But we like to tell people this is an unconventional kind of convention.
Well, getting to know you,
can
I
get a
think
lot
it's kind of
closer.
true,
You
right?
can get a lot closer to the celebrities, than perhaps you would at a big event.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, where else can you go where you can actually walk the decks of the Starship Enterprise?
And during the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th, you get an opportunity. I think you said Ken DeLay is coming, right?
Keir Dullea is coming with Gary Lockwood, yes, both
Yes.
of them from 2001.
Wow, this is really something. Right here in Ticonderoga. And over the course of days, you can take a tour of the studio here, see the set designs from the original, meet the celebrities,
That's right.
and partake in any of that kind of stuff that Trek's
if
like.
If you're a geek, geeks rule the world. This is one of the places you can come and really geek out.
Uh-huh. Now, just one last thing.
Sure.
James here doesn't have your average day job.
Never have.
You are an Elvis tribute artist, or as you like to say, impersonator.
I'm an
right?
impersonator. I started so long ago. There was no tribute artist moniker. You were an impersonator, and like I think I spoke to you earlier about this. For me, it was always an acting job.
Mm-hmm.
I sing and I have a live band and all of that. But for me, I was taught to be an actor. If the audience doesn't believe that you're that character when you first walk out, the first few seconds, you're not going to be effective at your job. And here I am all these years later. I'm
So let me just ask you,
much older than Elvis was when he passed away.
during the show, do you ever sing "You Ain't Nothing But a Klingon"?
No.
No, okay.
No. Listen, I really try to keep everything separate. This was my hobby. This was how I got away from the pressures of show business. You go on stage and you have a show and you generally have a great time in your interaction with the audience, but the business side of it's not always pleasant. So you have to have an escape, and this was my hobby. This was my escape back to my childhood and back to the 60s and all those good things.
Well, very much like Gene Roddenberry, who had a vision of it, this is more than a hobby. But James, thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
And remember, it's August 12th, 13, and 14. Every single day there's a lot going on right here in Ticonderoga at the studio for Star Trek.
That's it.
The original series.
Beam up.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. If you want to see this interview again, you can go to our website, looktvonline.com.